Is MEI viable? Well, not really since dive comp's rise to power, but with the newest changes coming to the game, we're going to be seeing some big shifts in the meta. Maybe dive comp won't be as prevalent, and MEI could be good once again. We're going to talk about it here in today's video. So MEI is this hero that never has seen an extremely high pick rate. Some would say she's boring to play, others think she's just not very good and too hard for what she's worth, but I think in the upcoming patch she could be good. Let's first talk about why MEI was bad, or has been pretty bad in the more recent patches. Now, she hasn't been terrible, you can make her work, but dive comp isn't really something MEI does well against. MEI excels at holding choke points, and dive comp says, screw your choke points, we're just going to come after your team instead, and that makes MEI pretty vulnerable. If you use your walls properly, you can sometimes wall off divers, but oftentimes they're going to jump right in the middle of your team, and you're going to end up walling off your own teammates more, and you can't freeze a Winston really fast enough when she's got a bubble. Diva you can freeze through defense matrix, but good luck getting close enough without being shredded, and people like Genji, once again, you can freeze him through his deflect, but his mobility is kind of through the roof. Same with Tracer. You're never going to really be able to land your main thing, your freeze, on any of these heroes. Your right click is going to be extremely hard to land as well, your alternate fire, because they're all going to be moving fast, they're all going to have a barrier or a defense matrix of some sorts, and you don't have mobility to dive the enemy team's support, so there's really no one in the game you countered, and there's no one you excel against. The one thing MEI does well against dive comp is survive it. MEI cannot really be dived because she has her cryo freeze ability. Winston jumps on you, you just freeze yourself, and when your team comes to support you, you pop out and you kill them together. Not too difficult. But Winston usually won't dive you. He'll dive your Zenyatta or your Lucio or your supports and the rest of your team because you're not that big of a threat to him or anyone. MEI is a hero who's been described as a utility tank. She doesn't have too much life, but she can absorb a lot of damage with her wall and her cryo freeze by exploiting enemies' mistakes. But dive comp kills your team too fast for MEI to really exploit any mistakes or use her walls or cryo freeze effectively, which is going to probably change here in the newest patch. Let's talk about it. One of the biggest buffs coming to the game is Zarya's Graviton Surge, which basically nobody can escape now. I'm pretty sure it's just Reaper and Orisa now that the patch just went live. Doomfist can't even escape it anymore with his ultimate, so I'm 90% sure it is literally just Orisa and Reaper that can escape Graviton Surge. With this being said, I think MEI could be viable against Zarya for a few reasons. For one, MEI can freeze Zarya without really risking charging up Zarya too much. If Zarya bubbles to avoid getting frozen by MEI's not going to deal too much damage. MEI can quickly cancel her primary fire, quickly stop shooting at the bubble, and even if she hits a little bit on it, her freeze doesn't deal a lot of damage in the first place. So it's not like you're charging up Zarya, you're just making her waste her bubble. And if she starts shooting you or she's at high power, you can abuse your cryo freeze in your wall to make her reload too much, waste ammo, and just miss you, which could be pretty useful. The biggest reason MEI's going to counter new Graviton Surge though is with her wall. A well-placed directional wall can completely negate a Graviton Surge's effectiveness. A good Graviton Surge can even get through things like Zenyatta's Transcendence and Lucio's Sound Barrier, as well as Mercy's Res. How, you ask? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Transcendence is countered by anti-heal, and there's actually some things that out-damage it, like far as Rocket Barrage. And Lucio's Sound Barrier isn't actually that great when you're caught in a Graviton Surge that was well executed. Bad Graviton Surges, yes, Lucio counters because the enemy team won't deal a lot of damage to you. But a good Graviton Surge, when the enemy team is just pushing a ton of damage into you, you can break through Lucio's barriers very quickly. Things like, once again, far as Rocket Barrage can get right through it. Reaper's Death Blossom will actually chew through it if the rest of the team is shooting. Hanzo's Dragon Strike and Genji's Dragon Blade, especially if he's nanoed. All of these things will get right through Sound Barrier because your team is so clumped up, the concentrated damage won't matter. And now that Mercy can't escape a Graviton Surge either, you're just at a lot of risk. Now, some of these things will work a lot of the time if you're playing to your strengths, you can still survive. But one of the newest tools in your kit, which has actually been around for a while, so it's not new, is MEI's wall. MEI's wall has 500 HP in each little pillar, which means a well-placed wall can effectively give your team an extra tank standing in front of you. And that makes the fight like a 7v6 almost in a way, kind of, almost. So, MEI can be pretty useful against this change. Furthermore, with the Reinhardt changes, I'm sure we'll see more play at choke points, and choke points is where MEI excels. We talked about it before. Her walls can completely negate an entire team's push when done right. Her cryo freeze makes her hard to pick, and her freeze alone can make it so when someone dives in, you guarantee the kill if you've walled off the rest of their team properly. Not dive comp. It doesn't counter dive comp. It counters one person diving in when the rest of the team is running death ball. For example, if they're running, you know, a Reinhardt, a standard push comp, Reinhardt, Soldier 76, Zarya, a bunch of these, you know, stationary heroes, and then a Genji that dives, if you wall off the rest of the team, you can freeze the Genji and focus him down because he dived. So there's a difference between countering someone that dives you as MEI and countering dive comp. Dive comp is too overpowering for MEI, but one person diving is not, especially when you use your walls, because that person is getting no support from their team. And that's the thing. I think a hybrid dive comp could be very powerful right now in the meta, given that we've got these dive heroes that have not been nerfed, and we've got these death ball and these stationary tanks that have been buffed. A hybrid comp is something that is very plausible, and since MEI excels against the one diver as well as the death ball style comp, I think we could be seeing MEI in the meta right now. One last point I'd like to talk about is MEI's Blizzard. MEI's Blizzard is an ultimate that is like, it's super powerful. MEI's Blizzard can freeze people for such long periods of time and negate entire teams' ultimates. It's crazy when it's done right. But I think the biggest strength in it is that if the enemy team realizes that the MEI is kind of stomping them and they switch to a full dive comp to really try to wreck the MEI so she doesn't have her power against choke points, Blizzard can shut that down. So if you get Blizzard before the enemy team realizes they need to switch to dive comp, and they switch to dive comp, your Blizzard can negate their entire dive. That's one more thing that I didn't mention earlier that MEI does well against dive. Her Blizzard will shut it down entirely. People need to leave. They need to jump out. And most of the time, you get the double freeze effect from your Blizzard and your primary fire, so you could freeze someone in their tracks before they escape and swing that fight immediately. So you have kind of a safeguard in your kit from when the enemy team actually realizes what they need to do. Tell me what you think of the new MEI down below, or the new state of MEI, I should say, because recently I think she's been a little weak. There's definitely situations she's useful, and MEI mains can probably learn to make her work, but now I think she's going to be undoubtedly better than she was before. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.